This is a theme that is set all in Australia. This is called Summer in Oz. And so, Wendy, really?
Come here, bud. You
gotta pick a spot. You gotta pick a spot, girl.
Come in.
Get up. Get up.
Chip up. There we go.
Hey everybody, it is Jackson from Fruit Wine Co. We are here to talk through the new release of our club wines for January 2024. The theme for this release is Summer in Oz. Because right now it is summer in Australia and New Zealand in the Southern Hemisphere. We are drinking wines that you would drink if it were summer down there. We have a really fun selection of wines. We have Rebecca Rice from Arthur's here in Seattle, which is an Australian-themed restaurant. She is our chef and recipe development partner. And so everyone who's getting a box is going to be getting Rebecca's recipes as well. Got some really fun things to pour for you. We're going to jump right into it and talk through some of these wines. The first wine is Earth Song. This is a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. And I love this wine because it does not taste like every other New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Most of them tend to be very tropical fruited, lots of guava, lots of papaya, lots of exotic fruit notes, which is delicious. This one tones it down a little bit and reminds me a little bit more of like a Cool Climate Sancerre or Chilean Sauvignon Blanc. It's got that green quality, got that herbal quality. I thought it would go with so many great foods, so many great different dishes. Rebecca, what do you think? What was the place it takes to?
So what I was thinking was, because of its awesome, zesty, fruity kind of citrus notes, I would love to do it with something like our mussels dish that we do at Arthur's. It's beautiful with a bunch of tarragon and bacon and mussels, which we can always suggest doing with clams instead. I know I'm not a huge mussels fan, so kind of that
amazing.
Like crispiness will really pair well.
Yeah, and like oftentimes we're squeezing lemon on our seafood dishes, or they have lemon in them, and it's just like perfect. This wine's got a ton of lemony, like lemon zest, lemon pith, lemon pulp, everything. Super yummy. We're gonna move to the next white wine. This wine is called Das Juice, and this comes to us from Adelaide Hills. It is made by the same guys who import a bunch of natural wine into Australia under the label Lo-Fi, and they decided to make a wine label for themselves that they could basically sell across the country, offer delicious value, offer great typicity for Australia, but making everything organically farmed, very, very minimal intervention in the winery, wild yeast and everything, just a tiny little bit of sulfurate bottling. So this is Das Juice white blend, and we're kind of moving up in texture a little bit. So because this is a blend of Riesling and it's got a little Sauvignon Blanc in it, but it also has Semillon, which provides that richness and weight on the palate. And I just love the silkiness that this has. It's just got a nice palate coating quality. Where does this one take you food-wise?
I'm loving the idea again of a nice seafood dish, something whitefish, salmon, but that could be, it's got a beautiful kind of caper, maybe saffron, currant style thing on top with a little bit of herb just to kind of hit all those different layers.
The cool thing about the Das Juice is the person that designed this label also directed a music video for a band whose music we picked to go be the music pairing for this. So I just wanted to kind of bring it full circle. We're gonna go back to New Zealand really quick here. Was not expecting to put an orange wine in this box. I know orange wine's polarizing. It can be a little weird, it can be a little different. This one's called Agent, and it's an orange wine. They're doing a little bit of a joke there. This is made by Zephyr, and they are in the northern part of the southern island of New Zealand, around Marlborough and Martinborough. And this is also a wine that has Sauvignon Blanc in it, but it also has some Pinot Gris, and we're getting into that more textury, rich, a little bit of tannin here, a little bit of bitterness. And I think this wine's throwing so many cool notes of like apricot pit and lemon peel and lots of nuttiness, but it doesn't taste super oxidative. It's very fresh, it's very bright. Food-wise, where does this take you? What do you think about it?
Super fun. I love a good orange wine. This one's awesome. I would definitely go in our smoked direction. We make a smoked trout in-house.
Oh my gosh.
I'm hoping to be able to make it very accessible to the home chef, at-home chef. So kind of that smokiness is going to go really, really well with that funk and that acid.
I love orange wine, and smoked anything, especially smoked fish or smoked freshwater fish, is just a match made in heaven. If you're ever wondering what to do with orange wine, well, pair it with food. It is sometimes a wine that on its own can be a little like, oh, this is different, but when you put it with the right dish, it can totally raise the level of both components. So, hope you enjoy that Zephyr. That's really fun. Okay, this wine is just ridiculous and hilarious, and We've actually carried it at Crunchy Red Fruit before, so if you've come to our warehouse sales, you might have seen this. This is Piggy Pop. It's made by Tim Wildman under the label Wildman Wines, and this is his Piggy Pop Pet Nat. I'm not even going to bother telling you all the grapes that are in it. It's got about 9 different grapes, some field blends. It comes from a variety of vineyards around South Australia, so a little bit of McLaren Vale, some other spots in there. This wine's delicious. It's not something that needs to be heavily described. You can just look at the label, you can look at the wine on the glass and go, yep, I'm gonna drink it. It's refreshing, it's frothy, it's bright, it's got all this cool red fruit character, and that's it. We don't really need to think super hard about it. When you think about a wine that sort of has this like buoyant, fun personality, what do you think about pairing with it?
Definitely in the kind of snack range, maybe some delicious salty bits and pieces. We've got I've been working on some different ideas with popcorn, which is kind of weird to do at a restaurant, but it's anything to snack on is awesome, and it would go really well with this.
Yeah. We're going to move into a couple red wines here. And this is a producer, Unico Zello, who we've actually featured in Crunchy Red Fruit releases before. Unico Zello is making incredible wine in a very atypical area for great wine. They are based in Riverland, and Riverland is a place that for a long time was making bulk wine. They were kind of bigger fields of huge vineyards that had been planted to lots of different varieties that were heat resistant and meant for hot, dry climates, which Riverland very much is. But Unico Zello said, what if we, instead of farming these with extra chemicals and lots of irrigation and factory-style farming, what if we were to take these vineyards, rehabilitate them to organic farming and sustainable viticulture, and create some amazing wines in the process? And that's what they did. This is Nero d'Avola, of all things, in Australia. It is a Sicilian grape that is accustomed to hot and dry climates, which is why this wine does not come off at 16% alcohol. It comes off very balanced with great freshness, and also the label's gorgeous, and we love the work that Unico Zello is doing. On the nose, it's just super fresh, lots of red fruit, a little bit of baked quality to it because it still has that warm climate essence, but it's got a little leather, it's got a little spice. It does remind you of an Italian wine because of that herbal, leathery, spicy edge to it. But on the palate, instead of tasting like this huge raisiny wine, it's fresh, it's bright, it's got lots of love. With a wine like this, where do you go from a pairing standpoint?
I love this wine. This is awesome, and I'm super into, as I'm sure you can tell, spices and whatnot. North African spice, particularly Berbere spice, is something I've been absolutely loving with the kabocha squash, maybe livening it up with some lime citrus, along with the coconut rice. It's just, it's killer. So
that sounds incredible. I want to have that dish like right now. You actually just made me hungry talking about it. This last wine is kind of the granddaddy wine of this box. We actually had to raise prices this release, which I was not looking forward to doing, but we put all that money right into providing an incredible wine that we got almost the entire North American allocation for. So this is Thistledown, the Vagabond Grenache. Crazy story. This is actually made by Giles Cook, who is the same winemaker as the Earth Song. So Thistledown was the winery, and they actually were the ones that found this vineyard in New Zealand and are making that wine as well. So 2 different countries, same winemaker, 2 different wines completely, but similar inspiration. So this Grenache, to me, is, for lack of a better term, super Grenache-y. It tastes like the purest and most transparent version of the grape I've had in quite a while. When I think about what makes a classic Grenache, classic Grenache should have baked fruit notes. Baked red fruit like strawberry and cherry. That's very typical for Grenache no matter where it's grown. Grenache grown on the northern part of Sardinia called Cananao has those same qualities. It has that ripe red fruit, has some white pepper. Same thing for Grenache grown in Châteauneuf-du-Pape or the Côte d'Aron. Same thing for Grenache grown in its homeland of Spain. It's a Spanish grape and does love a hot, dry climate. And McLaren Vale, where this wine is from, is kind of a perfect place for Grenache. And it actually has some of the oldest grapes in the world, or the oldest vines in the world for the Grenache grape. Some of these grapevines are over 200 years old in this part of Australia, which is crazy. They predate a lot of the grapevines in Europe because they predate phylloxera and are still phylloxera free. If you want to read about phylloxera, it's a fascinating read to find out how some of these Australian vines are the oldest surviving original vine material in the world, even older than what's in Europe. Really fun stuff. So anyhow, let's talk about thistledown. Ripe cherry, strawberry jam, orange peel, a little white pepper, some dried herbs and lavender, things that I expect to find in Grenache everywhere, but it's just shining so brightly in this wine and it's just jumping out of the glass at me, and I love this wine. So it was unfortunately worth raising the prices so that you could get better wine, and I believe in this wine tremendously. Where does it take you?
Right there with you. This wine is totally worth raising a price for. It's I would love to go in a duck direction. It's something that even I have a tough time cooking just right. So we'll either work on a duck, or you might see a little pork, probably a pork chop.
Oh yeah.
Just with some kind of robust flavors, really balancing out those notes, and having, I think at one point we did it with like this awesome carrot mash with a bunch of awesome layered flavors. So
Yeah.
you'll see it in there.
When I think of like sweet roasted root vegetables, this is in that wheelhouse too. So if you're not a meat eater, like roast your turnips until they start to caramelize, roast your carrots until they do the same thing. And wines like this Grenache with all that fruit are gonna meet that sweetness of caramelization so nicely. That's the thing, we want you to be cooking. Like, get in the kitchen, get your hands dirty, get your knife sharpened, get out there and cook and enjoy these wines with some really awesome hand-selected recipes. Rebecca, thank you so much for being our partner for this release, and we can't wait to come eat at your restaurant and hang out. So.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks Wendy for being so sweet this whole time. That's Wendy the wine dog. She's just doing her thing, hanging out. Thank you all, and cheers. Enjoy your summer in Oz.